So we came to this hospital today because on a regular basis, New York City police officers are in this emergency room. We're serving the citizens of the city, bringing them here when they're sick. Those numbers have multiplied. We work hand in hand with the staff here at Jamaica Hospital. We've not only brought citizens here in their worst of times, we've brought fellow police officers here when we were hurt, we were injured, we were sick. We were in this emergency room when we lost Detective Scienson. We cried and they cried. The staff was with us. At their worst of times, we wanted to come here and say we haven't forgotten. We appreciate it. We understand how hard it is to get one of these masks. Our police officers are on the street struggling for the equipment just like you are. So we wanted to come here. It seems like a small thing, bringing some food. But if you've ever gone through crisis, one of the things you must do is make sure the workers are fed. Make sure they're rested. Make sure we pull them off the line when they have that moment of emotion. And that's why we're here today to say, we understand. We don't only appreciate you today during this crisis, we appreciate you every single day. But there's also another important message we as citizens must send. There needs to be a seismic change in the way government works. City Council, City Hall needs to change their focus. Rather than worrying about if we're going to empty Rikers Island, we need to worry about if our first responders have the equipment that they need. Many of us went through September 11th and we had handkerchiefs wrapped over our faces. And everyone said this can't happen again. Then our city government spent the time worrying about issues of social justice and other issues rather than doing their job of managing the city, making sure we're supplied, making sure we're thinking about worst case scenarios because worst case scenarios happened and we're living it now. There needs to be a change. Our city, state, and federal government needs to worry about what the people are concerned about, what the workers need, how we're going to do our job. How are you going to equip us? We should not be struggling now. We lived it before. So we need to say, stop. We need them to focus. We need them to manage. We need them to supply us. So today we're saying thank you, but these police officers behind me, when we leave here showing love to these doctors, nurses, staffers, the folks that are mopping the floor, they're going back on patrol. And they'll be in the apartments where the sick folks are. And we'll be bringing them here. But will we have the PPEs that we need? So far we don't. It needs to change. It needs to change now. And we cannot allow it to happen for the next crisis. Questions?
Can you talk about, regarding PPEs, what is the availability? What precincts are lacking? Out of every 10 cops, how many have the proper?
It's across every borough. They've given masks out, but we're getting 1 and 2 masks. These are one-use masks. We shouldn't have to be hanging them on our locker door and hoping they're good the next day. They become ineffective. What we should have done and what we have to get to is where every day a police officer stands roll call, gets their assignment, goes to the desk and checks out masks every day, as many as we need. This is nonsense that we're going through this. We understand it's not just us. We understand it's also them. We understand it's the other first responders. But we have to make sure it doesn't happen again. So when the city council is worried about protecting birds, we have to say, protect us. Protect the citizens. Help us do the job. It's an emotional time. The reality is these police officers will go out and do the job, whether we have the equipment or not. But it's government job to make sure that we do, and we can do the job effectively.
Not the government, I mean, Shea rather, first of all, they're saying the equipment is available. There's a disconnect there, obviously.
We got here today, we handed out masks to our members. Getting 1 or 2 masks is not enough. Plain and simple. One-use masks. When we're done here today, we should throw these out and start over. But we can't. Thank you for covering this important story. We appreciate it. We more importantly appreciate the folks now that are changing shifts. The nurses, the doctors, the cleaning staff who are leaving now, and their comrades are coming in to make sure these doors are open. And unfortunately, when we're done here, we'll be rolling patients in from the streets into the same emergency room. Thank you, everyone.
If I can,
yes, sure.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the Rikers and the push to empty the jail. Today, Brock's defenders is applying in court for the release of up to 18 prisoners, 9 charged with murder. I mean, that's their job. Do you expect they'll win, or do you think there'll be enough pushback?
It's disgraceful that the concern of anyone, whether you're defenders or not, to say that at a time like this, at a crisis like this, that will take our most violent criminals and allow them out into the street. They will say they're non-violent, but we locked them up. We know what we charged them with. They're letting murderers out. Every day we have to look through a list and make sure they don't let cop killers out. That's disgraceful. Their priorities need to change. All of us, regardless of what side of the political spectrum we're on, have to come together. Common sense says, don't empty the jails when we're having a crisis, when we're cut thin, when people are getting sick. It's silly. Let's not even discuss how it makes any sense, because it doesn't. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Guys, thanks very much. Thanks for coming out. Be careful out there. We know that every day you're in this emergency room with these doctors, with these nurses, with this staff. Look, I'm a kid that grew up in this city, live in this city. Guys in uniform are protecting my neighborhood. I thank you for it, not only as a police officer, as your union guy, but as a person that had the privilege to live and grow in this city. Because people like you went before you, and they'll go after you. Thanks. Be careful, guys. Appreciate it.